Up here in Cape Ann, Massachusetts. Now, for the past couple weeks, we've been doing demolition on the house, and there are some places, like this front entryway, that are going to be lightly touched. But then there are other places, like the upstairs, where it's a whole different story. We tested positive for asbestos. In an old house like this, lead is always a problem. So that demolition actually became a full-blown abatement. Now, if you come back here, in the back of the house, this used to be the kitchen right in here. This whole space is going to become a family room, and this is going to be moved over here so that the kitchen is now made up of what was an old porch out here, and then the dining room, which is this space in here. And Tommy, so the dining room, which is going to become the kitchen, is actually now going to get moved to what was a three-season porch.
Right, so now this is going to be living space, and the porch actually stepped down when you went outside, but the homeowner wants the floors to be level.
Makes sense. It's going to be the dining room, a little breakfast nook. Why not?
Absolutely. So the original idea was to frame on top of the existing frame that was way down here.
Yep.
We thought about it and said, well, by the time we take up the old and then sister and frame to the old with new, it's easy to rip out the old and install new engineered lumber, making it nice and flat.
Bring it up to the level we need at the same time. And you like your engineered lumber. I mean, you get the benefit of the fact that it is strong, that it is straight and true.
Right, and you can do a lot with it. I mean, this is equal to, it's actually just a little bit bigger than a conventional 2x10.
Yep.
All right? It's a little wider and it's a little higher. Now you think about this as a 3/8 piece of core. If this core is higher or the flanges are further apart, that means the distance that they can span is greater.
Okay.
All right, now you have a lot of flexibility with this material. You can drill big holes in this for running plumbing. We don't have to worry about that here. But we have a floor that we know is going to be straight. When we're framing with conventional lumber, you take the lumber and you eyeball down here to see if there's a crown in it. So you flip it up the right way so the crown always goes up. With this material here, we don't have to deal with that. We know it's straight no matter how we look at it. Straight, we set it in hangers.
And so as I look over there, you can see the hangers going in. So there's a hanger right here, a little different than a traditional hanger.
This sits on the top of, let's say, the beam that we have on the other side. That sits on top like that. So if you're going to frame 16 on center, you mark it off 16 on center, you take the joist hanger, just lay it down like that, and you'd put it up tight on the top of the beam right here. You line it up, and these little pieces of steel that stick out like that, you tack it down, and that holds it on the line here. You eyeball it on this side, you tack this down there. Okay, so once those two little tabs are in, that holds the hanger into position. Then you would drive some hanger nails or hanger screws in place. Once you have those fastened to the beam, you take your I-joist and you drop it into the hanger. Now, if you notice right here on each side, these little clips, you'd bang that down hard with a hammer. That would snap into place. Those little clips stop the floor joist from coming up and lessen the squeaking.
Okay.
All right, now we're getting the adhesive on there, and we actually have a limited time before we can get this sheet down, because the adhesive will skin over. Now, not only putting it on top of the joist, but you need to put a little bit of a bead right in the groove of the tongue and groove system.
Because?
Well, that does two things. It allows the sheets to go together easier, but it also stops the floor from squeaking.
Okay.
All right. Now we got a good bead down here where the two pieces are going to come together, and we want to keep a gap at this connection here on the end about 1/8 of an inch. Drop it down, put your foot on top so it doesn't bounce up. All right, let it go. All right, now we gotta tap it over to me just to here. So you're gonna use a block so we don't damage that groove. You're gonna tap it in gently till we get it in. Tap that right in, a little more, tap it, give it a little. Go ahead, go ahead. One more. Yeah, you get about, just give it one more. So you got about a 16 to an 1/8 inch gap there. All right, so now you're ready to nail it. You see how these marks line up with those joists all the way down? So you're going to start on this side here, and you're going to nail into those marks, right like that, all the way down. Now, a lot of people don't know that the nail gun won't pull the material down. It will just hold it there. You want to make sure that the material is tight to the joist. So what you want to do is stand on each side of the joist, right here, pushing down, then you nail it, working with it. If you reach out, it won't go tight.
How do you feel about that?
It looks pretty good. So stand on each side and nail away.
Last time we discussed where the mudroom and garage will be sited, but clearly this bedrock is in the wrong place. We need to remove it. And today we're going to start doing that. Charlie, how are we going to do that?
Well, we really had two choices. We could either drill and blast or use an excavator with a hammer on it. We chose to use an excavator with a hammer on it opposed to drilling and blasting. And we didn't drill and blast for one main reason. We'd have to get all the houses within 250 feet have a pre-blast survey done. And that entails a company coming in and documenting any crack on your foundation you might have, crack in your plaster, something off with a door, a cabinet might be out of line. So they have to really record all of that, write a report with pictures.
That sounds completely overwhelming.
It does, and you know, in the amount of ledge that we're taking out of here, using an excavator with a hammer on it really will get the job done. Right here is the corner of the garage. This is probably the level of the garage floor. So we're going to have a wall here. We're going to go down about 4 feet below the earth here and pin our new footings and foundation to the ledge. And across the whole, and this is the front of our garage right here, and we carry that same line down for the depths, probably going around 3 or 4 feet here. And we don't have to go down too far below the frost line because we get to pin to the ledge here.
All right, so we don't have to remove that much here, but just enough to get the foundation in.
Correct. And the side of the garage follows this orange spray line all the way to this point here, which is the back corner of the garage. And so we're going to carry that same line hammering down the ledge to set our footings into the ledge.
Okay.
And Jen, you're actually standing in the middle of the mudroom right here. And in the mudroom, I actually want to go down about 3 feet clear space finished for our mechanicals to fit.
All right. Well, let's get this process started. I cannot wait to see it.
Let's go.
Charlie, this thing is a beast.
It is. This is our excavator where normally you would see a bucket on the end, but this is where we have our hammer. And these are our hydraulic lines that feed a reservoir of hydraulic fluid that gets pressurized and drives a piston that drives our point. Gives us pinpoint accuracy to do whatever we have to do and put the pressure right on it.
That's so awesome. Let's get this started.
Let's go.
Our project house is in Manchester by the Sea, one of 4 towns that makes up Cape Ann. So today I've come to learn more about the area and about the industries that have made it thrive. Just east of Manchester is Gloucester. It is America's oldest seaport and is the birthplace of the U.S. fishing industry.
It's had a few names, but it settled in on Gloucester, and we've had an uninterrupted fishing industry here since 1623.
It's the thing that I think of most about Gloucester is the fishing industry.
Yeah, well, in the mid-1800s, it was the biggest fishing port in America.
And what makes Gloucester such a great place for fishing and for sailing?
I think it's the proximity to George's Banks, which is like one of the richest fishing places in the world. And but then there are all kinds of other little banks. There are shallow areas of the sea that come up, and all the nutrients from the sea come up.
And so today people are coming here for what?
There's a lot of cultural tourism. There's a lot of people that are coming here because of our history. The whale watching is a big attraction. The beaches are spectacular.
Right.
And they come for big events. In June, the last week of June is the St. Peter's Fiesta. St. Peter is the patron saint of the Italian fishing fleet.
What's the festival like, St. Peter's?
Probably the most entertaining thing is the greasy pole. And these guys all dress up in all kinds of costumes. They're trying to walk out this 40-foot telephone pole that has about a foot of grease on it. And at the end of it, there's a flag. And you got to walk out to the end and get the flag. Nobody's ever gotten seriously hurt, which is a miracle. And then at the end of the summer, we have this schooner festival. This year is our 35th time running this. It's now a 3-day event, and boats are coming from as far away as Panama City, Florida, and Canada. We've kind of brought this history back alive of these great schooners that used to sail out of here. 23 years ago, we built this schooner, and I thought that it would be kind of fun to be able to show people what it was like to be on a boat 100 years ago.
Yep.
And it's really been fun for me to have people like lay on the deck and look up at the sails while we're going along and say, wow, this must have been what it was like 100 years ago.
Right.
And so it really has happened.
The light, the harbor, the fishing, the rocky shores, how it all merges together.
Right.
It's just dramatic. People that really love arts and culture want to come here and feel the aliveness. This is Rocky Neck Ave, and there's over 20 galleries, and there's potters, painters, jewelry. They're all right on the line of the harbor with the ocean right behind them. Everything is 5 minutes from the water, so everything's influenced by the water. And the light, the changing tides, the fact that it's always moving and that it's always changing, I really think it draws creative people here.
Who are some of those folks that it's attracted over the decades?
Winslow Homer spent summers here on Rocky Neck. Homer captured the spirit of the fishermen, the houses, the hilly rocky shores. After Winslow Homer and Edward Hopper, there was Nell Blaine and Stuart Davis, Milton Avery, Marsden Hartley. They all spent time here, painting here.
And where are we now?
This is Stevens Cove, and the artists call it the Breezeway. They've been painting it for years. It's perfectly, partly shady, partly sunny.
And as you said, I mean, the art is still very much alive and going on.
So alive. Artists are still living and working and painting here. They're following the tradition of all the people that have been painting here since the 1800s.
Right.
Just east of Gloucester is the coastal community of Rockport.
Rockport's been around as Rockport since 1840 when it split away from Gloucester.
Oh, it used to be part of Gloucester.
Yeah, it used to be part of Gloucester. It used to be what they called the fifth parish.
Yeah?
And they broke away from them in 1840, and then after that the fishing business took hold, and then after that the granite business took off.
That's what I think of when I think of Rockport. I think
It
of
is
the
amazing.
granite.
The granite business was huge, just huge. We had 50 to 60 granite quarries, all space in the back here of Cape Ann. Somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 quarrymen worked there. Started with dimension stone, the giant blocks of granite that you can see all around the wharfs around here. They also made paving stones, literally millions of paving stones.
You say paving stones. I mean, we're talking cobblestones, right?
Cobblestones,
This
exactly.
size right here?
Yep.
I mean, people probably didn't realize, but a street like this would be nothing but cobbles.
Absolutely, absolutely. They made millions of them. They shipped them all over the country, as far as San Francisco, the streets of San Francisco, the streets of Havana, Cuba, and even in Paris, France.
The cobblestone is a very humble piece of stone, but I mean, there have been some fantastic pieces pulled out of here, used for some pretty important buildings.
In Boston, for instance, the Custom House
Yes.
is all Rockport granite.
Iconic.
There were 4 eagles at the very top of that building, 16-foot eagles that were sculpted, and the granite came from Rockport here. Philadelphia City Hall is made out of Rockport granite.
That is an iconic
It
image
sure
right
is.
there.
Yeah. That's called the motif number 1.
Because?
It's been there for years. The story behind it is there was an art teacher here in town, and every year his students would come back with paintings of the same thing. And he'd throw up his hands because he'd try to get them to find something else to paint. And he kept saying, well, once again, motif number 1, back again.
But it does speak in some respect to the artist influence here in this town.
Absolutely. This whole building was lost in a 1948 storm and blown right off of the pier there, and the town rebuilt it. It's used as storage for the fishermen here. They keep all of their equipment in there.
So still a working building.
It sure is, yeah.
So we hammered the ledge down to where we need to be, and as you can see, the outline of our garage is starting to be formed.
Right, now the garage is going to be 24 by 24. This side of the foundation is going to sit on the ledge. Over here we had to come down and follow the slope of the ledge, and we're at the low point down there to be below our frost line. You dig down, you put a stone in there, you level the base for the dirt, then you put your forms in place, and then you pour your concrete. Because of the slope of the land, we have to put a series of dams in. So we have one dam there. As we turn around the corner, we come around, you can see there's another dam. And that is so that the foundation will sit on a stepped footing, but the top of the wall will be level.
That's right, and to secure the footings to the ledge, we're gonna drill it and install rebar into the ledge, but this will also help the footing from sliding on the ledge.
Right, you don't want it to move because of the hill going down. To drill holes, we're going to drill holes into the ledge itself, and they're going to be actually bigger than the diameter of this rebar, because when you put it in the hole, you want to have epoxy in there, and that's going to glue it in place. All right, so you can see that that hole is bigger than the rebar, and that will make room for the epoxy. And they'll fill that right up. All right, so you can see the epoxy coming up inside the hole there. Yeah, it's right up there. So now before the epoxy sets, and it's going to set pretty quick, on a cool day like this, it sets a little slower. Now just push it right into the wet epoxy, and then we'll do the next one. All right, so the dowels are into the ledge with epoxy. Next thing is we have to run horizontal rebar, 3 pieces across here like that, and we're actually wiring them to that. They want to be in about the lower third of the pour. That's the weakest part, so we want to make sure it's reinforced. All right, so that's going to be wrapped there in the bottom of the footing will be these 3 pieces of rebar. Now to hold the forms from blowing out from the weight of the concrete, I'm going to use this strap right here, slide it underneath the forms, and then we'll bend it up on the sides. Pull it tight. Pull it tight. There you go. Nail that in there. Now that takes care of the bottom, and these 2x4s, we'll run a series of these across the top, nailing it from one side to the other, and that will stop the form from blowing out from the weight of the concrete.
Yep. And once we have all the forms set, we have concrete hopefully coming tomorrow afternoon.
That'll be great.
So off of this kitchen, we've got that family room space back in here, and there's going to be a whole new configuration in here. A little office space right here, a little storage space right there, and then out to the mudroom. Now this doorway, which leads to the front of the house, well, it's in line with the stairs, but the idea is if we took this and we moved it left, Tommy, then the doorway right here would be almost in line with the front door, which is what you'd see when you walk into the house.
Right, you look down the hallway and into the family room. Perfect.
Yeah. So?
So what we're going to do is we're going to make an opening here that's going to be about 3/8 by 6/8.
Okay.
All right. Now, here's a wall that I'm going to cut into, but I don't have to worry about anything because this is not a load-bearing wall.
And you know that because...
Well, if you look at the structure up above, see these joists? They're all running parallel to the wall.
And that one doesn't even land on the top plate.
That's right. The only thing that's holding this wall to the ceiling are these fur strips right here. And so technically, I could take this whole wall out.
Okay, but we're not going to. We're just going to take up enough for the door.
Right. Let me show you on the other side. I've marked out where the door's going to go.
Okay, so...
And you can actually see the condition of this old plaster.
Oh, yeah. So on the other side, we saw the plaster coming through the lath. Here, a little bit of wallpaper, but that's all plaster.
Yeah, this has all been patched. This is actually drywall up here, it looks like.
So here's your wood. Is this your door opening from here to here?
Here, and all the way up here is the opening, and then that gets closed in with trim. So there's such little plaster left. I've got a little section here, a little bit over here, and this is all split and cracked. We're either going to strip this wall right back to this corner or to this corner.
It all goes, okay.
And then new plaster.
Want to start on the other side?
Yeah, we're going to start on the other side and put our header in and cut for our jacks. We're going to put these 1/4-inch fillers on here because the roughs-on 2x4s that are in the wall are thicker than these newer ones.